Jennie Kim. From Shadows to Stardom, The Unbreakable Journey. In the glittering chaos of K-pop, 2016 introduced countless new names. Among them was a young artist named Jennie Kim. To most, she was just another debut, a new face in a crowded industry. But to those who looked closer, she carried a different kind of presence. Her gaze was sharp, her aura magnetic. Not the polished perfection of an idol molded by formula, but the raw spark of someone destined to redefine what it meant to be on stage. Yet in these early days the world was silent. She sang, she danced, she delivered. But the applause was small, the recognition distant. She was a star whose light had not yet been discovered. 1 year later, the silence began to fracture. The group she belonged to was no longer an experiment, it was a rising force. With every release, Blackpink carved its space deeper into the global conversation. And in the middle of it, Jennie stood out not because she tried to, but because she simply couldn't be ignored. On stage, she was fierce, commanding, unshakable. Off stage, she carried herself with a calm confidence that unsettled critics and intrigued fans. This was the year the world began whispering her name. The whispers would soon become a roar. If 2017 was the awakening, 2018 was the eruption. In a bold move, Jennie became the first in her group to debut as a solo artist. Solo was not just a song, it was a statement. The beat was unapologetic, the lyrics defiant, the performance unforgettable. Overnight, she transformed from an idol within a group to an individual artist with her own identity. The success was staggering, the reception explosive. But so too were the criticisms. Being the first meant carrying the heaviest weight. Endless comparisons, relentless scrutiny, and the harsh glare of those who resented her spotlight. Yet Jennie did not crumble. She walked through the fire, and with every note, she declared her independence. The momentum of solo carried into 2019. Jennie held in her hands the first solo mega-hit of her generation, proof that she could stand alone as powerfully as she stood with her group. But the higher she rose, the sharper the knives became. She was labeled, judged, and dissected for daring to be first, for daring to shine too brightly. She faced backlash not just as an artist, but as a woman. Every outfit, every glance, every gesture turned into ammunition by those determined to reduce her. Yet Jennie's response was not loud. It was steady, measured, unshaken. She learned that silence could be power, that restraint could be defiance. By 2020, Jennie was no longer just a Korean star. She was a global phenomenon. Together with her group, she returned with How You Like That, an anthem that resonated across continents. The stage was bigger, the audience broader, the expectations higher. But with this triumph came renewed waves of criticism, accusations of laziness, claims that she wasn't dancing hard enough. What they failed to see was the discipline behind her stillness, the choice behind her restraint. Jennie absorbed the noise and let it pass through her like wind through steel. She was no longer fighting for survival. She was learning to master endurance. This was the year Jennie transcended music. She became the global ambassador for Chanel, a role that symbolized more than fashion. It was a declaration that she had arrived as an icon, a cultural force. Campaign after campaign, she embodied sophistication and defiance, proving that vulnerability and strength could coexist in one frame. But even then, detractors circled, criticizing her for bold fashion choices, accusing her of being too provocative. Jennie did not flinch. She did not argue. She let the photographs speak, the campaigns resonate, the silence linger. Her resistance was elegance itself. In 2022, the volume of hate reached deafening levels. Anti-fans found endless reasons to attack. Often trivial, sometimes absurd, always relentless. Every smile, every appearance, every choice was turned into a reason for criticism. For many, this would have been the breaking point. But Jennie had already learned the rhythm of storms. She smiled anyway, not because she was unaffected, but because she had chosen to rise above. Her resilience was not born of ignorance. It was born of wisdom, the wisdom that to be criticized meant to matter. A new chapter unfolded in Crimson. Jennie returned with a second solo comeback, a visual and sonic masterpiece drenched in the color of fire. The imagery was bold, the artistry fearless. She was no longer just defending herself against critics. She was reclaiming her narrative, rewriting her story in hues of red. The world leaned in, not just captivated by her music, but by the undeniable aura of a woman who had turned every insult into fuel. The critics still spoke, but their voices were drowned out by the thunder of her impact. The journey reached a pinnacle when Jennie walked the red carpet at the Met Gala, one of the most prestigious invitations in global culture. Draped in sapphire blue, she was luminous, serene, breathtaking. Yet even here in triumph, criticism followed. Anti-fans mocked her outfit, questioned her worth, and more than 10 publications published harsh critiques. But Jennie remained unmoved. She stood tall, radiant, and silent, embodying the calm of someone who had already transcended the need for validation. Her very presence at the Met was the answer to every doubt, every insult, every shadow. The legacy, from 2016's obscurity to 2024's global stages, Jennie's story is not one of overnight success. It is the story of resilience forged in criticism, of grace refined under pressure, of a woman who carried both the brilliance of fame and the burden of its shadows. She has been called lazy, provocative, undeserving, and yet she has become an icon, a symbol, a legend in the making. Her power lies not in how loudly she fights, but in how gracefully she endures. Jennie Kim's journey is proof that true stars are not born in applause. They are born in silence, in struggle, in storms. And when they rise, as Jennie has, they shine with a light no criticism can extinguish.